I have a question for you guys. When was the last time that you did a search on yourself? I mean, we could say Google, but Google's not the only thing, right? Have you searched yourself this week? Have you deep dived your social media this week? If someone was using your face, your voice, or your name today, would you even know? Right? And if you found out that somebody was using your face, your voice, or your name, would you be able to do something about it fast enough to even stop it? So, your identity is your most valuable asset as a creator, but it's also your greatest vulnerability. I want to tell you 4 true stories. The first story we're going to start with is, and these 4 stories are basically the 4 faces of identity theft. So the first story, some of you may even see yourselves in the story. The first story is about signing a brand deal. And it may even be kind of similar to one of you. This lady signs a brand deal. She thinks that she has licensed a campaign with a short runway and that her brand is going to run for a few months with this company. And then when she thinks it's over, she's scrolling her Instagram feed and she sees her picture. She sees her picture with her voice, her face, her mannerisms, with a product she's never touched, in an ad she's never shot, and selling something she's never wanted to sell. She calls the brand and says, "What's up?" And you know what they said? "Too bad. You signed the contract." So what they did was they took an AI clone of her and used it to sell another product. But she signed a contract that said that she signed away all media in perpetuity, and that they owned the rights to her likeness. Can y'all say it with me? Owned. Owned. Yes. This only works if y'all participate, right? Owned. Yes. There we go. So she wasn't hacked, right? She wasn't hacked. Like, it wasn't really stolen because she gave it away, because she didn't negotiate her contract. Those words perpetual, the words all media now known or later developed, they sound like a lawyer. Determinative works. If you're not a lawyer, those sound lawyer-like, right? The legal license to own your future self, I mean, that's not your current content. And that's why this talk matters. Story number 2. This is a story that comes straight from social media. And some of y'all may even follow these people. Kat and Mike Stickler from TikTok and YouTube. 4 million followers. When they got together, they started building a joint account based on their individual identities. They built their account on TikTok to 4 million followers. They built a YouTube channel. And then comes the divorce. And apparently they didn't think in advance about what would happen, when everything falls apart. Because, when people get married, it's all the love and roses and flowers and rainbows. And they build this social media presence on their joint identity. And when the divorce came along, they didn't fight over custody of their daughter. They fought over custody of their TikTok. Their 4 million followers, some of whom may be you guys. And when they got to divorce court and they told the judge, we're fighting not over custody of our daughter, we're fighting over custody of our TikTok, the judge said, what? Because judges aren't all that sophisticated, right? Like, judges may not even be on TikTok because they don't encourage judges to be on TikTok. There's a lot of reasons, judicial ethical reasons for that. And the judge said, what? We don't have legal precedent for fighting over TikTok. Like, we don't have laws for this. We don't have case law authority. There's no legal doctrine for this. So their individual identity became joint property, and nobody thought about what it looked like to divide it. So again, audience participation counts here. Say it with me, divided. Divided. There you go. Love built it. The law divided it. Story number 3. This one is sad. This one doesn't involve courts. This one doesn't even involve social media. A teenager gets a text message, and the text message contained an image he didn't create, an image he didn't participate in, an image that he never took, he never shared. It was an image that somebody created with an AI clone and sent it to him for the purpose of manipulating him, extorting him, and humiliating him. And he took his life that night because of it. They copied him using AI, and it no longer requires money, power, or even sophisticated technology to steal your identity and weaponize it against you. All it requires is a copy of a photo from Facebook. Say it with me, copied. Yeah. Story number 4. Story number 4, a mother gets a phone call from her daughter. In a panic. The voice is perfect. The daughter is in tears. There is an urgency. There's a panic. She needs money. The mother wires her $15,000 before she even checks to see if her daughter is safe at home. By the time the money gets there and she calls the house and finds out the daughter is safe at home, the money is long gone. The voice call was an AI clone of her daughter. It's not a script. It's a real scam. It's the reason why everybody in this room and your family ought to have a secret code word. This is a scam that is exploiting everybody, not just celebrities, not just wealthy people, everybody. It's happening. It's real, and it's AI, and it's not just things that are happening to other people. And it is believable. Say it with me, believed. Believed. So, I have 3 core beliefs. Oh, I lost track of my slides. I was so caught up in talking to y'all. I have these core beliefs that I want to convey to you guys today. First of all, I believe that your identity is not your content. Your identity is not your content. I believe that your identity is your property. But in the age of AI, property ownership is not enough. Identity, in my opinion, has to be a fundamental human right. And we are increasingly being separated from that right of our identity as technology becomes more prevalent and more advanced. But if we believe these things, and if we believe that identity should be a fundamental human right that we cannot be separated from, we have to understand a little bit better how identity works and how to protect ourselves from it. So let's talk about, foundationally, what is identity as it exists today? I think in history, we've always kind of been at this place where identity was our human biology. Identity was something that we never really thought about in a way that was separate from our human organism, our human body. You know, when we lived in a more simple society, our reputation kind of was the most that we might have gotten separated from us. And there was something you could somewhat control about that. But you could walk down the street and still be you. But today we don't really have as much control over that. So I developed this stack of what I think we're at with identity as we stand here today. So at the very bottom of the stack, you have your biological identity. And at least right now where we stand with technology, we still have our biological identity. I'm not sure that as technology advances, that's always going to be true. I think the advances in AI technology, they are starting to have some DNA replication that may, at some level, in ways that we can't even begin to understand, start trying to separate our biological identity from us, and that may be a whole new thing. But the biological identity is still right now at the bottom of the stack. Then you have your legal credentialed identity. And that is like your social security number, your passport, your intellectual property, your ideas, maybe your marriage certificate. You have your economic identity. That's your banking credentials. I mean, now we hardly even have a cash society. So your login to your bank is your economic identity. You have your Stripe, maybe your tax IDs, your brand deals, like any way that you make money would be your economic identity. Then you have your representational identity. You have your name, image, likeness, your avatars, you know, your handles, like how you log into your social media. Those are your representational identities. You have your algorithms. These are your twins, like how the algorithms see you. Then you have your synthetic identity. So this is where we're getting with AI, where you have AI-generated versions of yourself. And these are things maybe that you're doing intentionally. And then, so I presented the idea for this topic back in July. And back in July, when I came up with this idea for this topic, we did not have quite the actual reality of agentic identity yet. And then in January, along came OpenClaw. And I don't know if you guys were watching Twitter. I wasn't watching it on Twitter, and there were other platforms that you could watch it on, but I was watching it on Twitter, and all of a sudden, OpenClaw comes around, and there's all this stuff going on Twitter, and they created Moltbook, and all the agents got in Moltbook and were having their little Moltbook party, and they started going agentic. Right? Do y'all remember that moment at the end of January when all the agents started going agentic and they formed their own religion? Yeah, the little lobster religion or whatever. And so now I had to add a stack to my identity ideas. So now we have the agentic identity, right? And so do any of y'all have Mac Minis with your agents in it? Yeah, a few of you. So you have your agents in your Mac Minis. I want you to understand something. Your agents are not separate from you. You can treat them as if they're your employees. You can name them, some cute little name like Lisa, but they are not separate from you. They are part of you. They are your agentic identity. And if you give them a credit card and you give them permissions and you tell them to go do some things, they are doing them for you. They are part of you. And if they go out and go rogue and do weird things and go subscribe to some, porn sites or something and do some illegal things, like that's you, and you're going to be liable for that. So let's don't do that. Be careful. And so that's, from a lawyer standpoint, that's one of the problems, I think, with how new some of the agentic stuff and some of the security issues and protocols are, with a lot of the new things that are coming online, is that we just don't have a legal precedent and a protocol for how these things are going to transact on our behalves. So for me, this is where I think we're at today with the identity stack. Now, what I find interesting, somebody held up an iPhone for me. I didn't bring mine up on the stage, but I know all y'all have them. Where does the iPhone fall within the stack? It's not in one place, right? Because I think your iPhone falls in your legal identity, because I bet most of you log into your bank through your phone. I think it falls, you log into your phone through your with your legal identity. You log into your bank with your economic identity. Your name, image, likeness, you all have photos and videos on your phone, so your representational identity is in there. So I think your iPhone, when you lose your phone, I think you're losing almost every stage of the stack. So we're carrying around in our hands basically this representation of almost every part of the identity stack. And so that is almost like a dangerous thing to be carrying in a way. I mean, I don't want to be over scary, but the problem is that the law is only, the law stays behind us. So the law only protects parts of the stack, and it really isn't catching up very fast to cover the whole stack of it. So if you're taking notes, I want you to, kind of keep this, this concept that your identity is your factory, right? Your identity is the thing that is producing the product, but the product is actually your name, image, likeness. And the NIL is the thing that the law kind of is designed to protect. The identity is the factory, but the NIL is the product line. So what does that mean? The factory of the identity is your ownership, your rights, your legal control, and your structure. So you need to be looking at your entity structure to protect yourself. The product is your photos, your videos, your brand, your following, and that's what you monetize. And from the legal perspective, the law doesn't care about feelings. As a lawyer, we say fair is a 4-letter word. So there's not really a fair concept in the law. There's just the law and it applies. So if you have feelings about it, that's not something that, the law is going to look at. So we have to be smart. And that's why you're here, and that's why we're going to learn about how to be smart about your brand deals and about how to protect yourself better as much as you can. I mean, the tech is moving so fast and the world is moving so fast that it's difficult because there's not a lot of law that protects you, but we want to do the best we can. So what can we do? From this is basically the 3 ways that you can lose your identity. One is if you sell it. If you sign a bad contract and you don't read it and you kind of do like what one of the girls at the bar the other night said to me. She said, well, I mean, I just signed the contract they gave me because who am I? Like, I mean, if I don't sign what they give me, like, I'm not going to get the brand deal. And I mean, I get that, but she signed away a lot of rights, you know, and when it uses these big lawyer words that are meant to benefit the company, not you, you have to understand you're signing away rights. The second way that the law doesn't care about your feelings is if you don't build legal structure around yourself. If you're just a person creating an Instagram channel and you don't have a legal structure around your business that is your creatorness, then you're not creating those boundaries that businesses have. Like, that business is a business and they want to do business with a business, not a person. So you need to build a structure of a legal entity that does business with another business. And the third way is if you don't defend yourself. So if somebody's violating your trademarks or violating your copyrights, then you need to be defending that and enforcing that. The problem with that is that it is very expensive to defend. And in this global world that we have now, it's very difficult. And a lot of us, I mean, me included, you know, if somebody from another country violates your copyright or your trademark, if you did trademark, I mean, who are we to do something about somebody in some other country? Because the international laws are not designed to protect us. If American laws are slow to catch up, like the international laws are difficult, right? Did any of y'all see the controversy a few weeks ago whenever ByteDance came out with the new technology for video that was extra good, and they did the AI clone of Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt doing the little fight? Did y'all see that? Did you see that Tom Cruise got real mad about that, right? Rightfully so. Tom Cruise got real mad that this Chinese company came out with this new AI video of Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt having this fight, and they released it on social from China. And it was so realistic, it looked like a real video, it looked like real people doing this real fight. And Tom Cruise contacted the Actors Union about it, trying to get it taken down. And I think that he did get the American companies to take this video down. And, you know, my thought is, like, Tom Cruise has, like, all the money, right? He has all the abilities, he has all the connections, all the pull. Like, he can call up the union and they'll, like, go hop to it and act. But I don't have that. Like, I don't have all the money. I don't have all the contacts. Like, I don't know about you guys. Like, do y'all have all the money and all the contacts, right? Like, so if Tom Cruise has difficulty enforcing international law to enforce his brand, you know, how are we who are just being creators on Instagram and just trying to build our brand to maybe someday be Tom Cruise, right? How can we enforce it? And that's the tug and pull of where we're at with the legal system for creators and the technology advances that are international in scope. And trying to balance where we're at and still, you know, get ahead for ourselves. So one of the things that we can do is that we can recognize when we're signing a deal, you can start recognizing the language that is going to steal things from you. So these are lawyer words that you can start recognizing what they mean that are going to kill your identity. One of those words is perpetual. So perpetual means forever, no expiration, no exit. After you die, like, it's going to go on and on and on and on and on and on forever and ever and ever. Another clause is all media now known or later developed. That, and I mean, in the word media, like, we don't even know what the word media is. We know what we think it knows, what it means today, but the word media tomorrow may mean agentic media. It may mean something that isn't even created today. So all media now known, later developed, we don't know what that even is. So today that could include AI clones, deep fakes, and technology not yet invented. So recognize when you see that phrase. Derivative works. So that means anything that they take that you create today and then they derive from it. So that can right now mean any fake version of you. So if you're doing a brand deal where you sell you go and show up at a cupcake shop and you agree to do a 3-photo deal for a cupcake shop, if it has derivative works language in that deal, then they can take those 3 photos and AI Photoshop deal and use them forever on whatever other cupcakes that they want to use you for. So that's any fake versions, AI generated simulations that they can then deploy of you with, the strawberry cupcakes that you didn't like because you only wanted to talk about the chocolate ones. Sub-licensable. That means they can sell your likeness to somebody else. So you only wanted to do the deal for the cupcake shop. You didn't want to do it for the ice cream shop because you don't like the ice cream shop. But they can go sub-license it and get paid by the ice cream shop themselves, whether you like it or not. And irrevocable. Once you sign something that's irrevocable, you can't take it back. In lawyer words, that means no takesy-backsy. Yeah, so I've given you an example of a bad contract, right? And so if you see these types of contracts, this is, going in eyes wide open. If you sign something like this, you're giving up your entire forever and ever and ever identity. Creator grants brand a perpetual, irrevocable, sub-licensable right to use your name, image, likeness, and voice in all media now known or later developed. Let's maybe not do that deal. You're not getting paid enough for that deal. All right, but here's the objection. This is the objection the lady said to me at the bar the other night. And she had she had a big deal. She had a really recognizable deal. She said, but the contract's non-negotiable. If I pushed back on it or if I tried to negotiate the contract, I'll lose the deal. If I tried to negotiate the terms, if I did anything other than just sign it, I might lose the deal. And I don't have anything anyway, so I might as well just sign it because something's better than nothing. And this gal at the bar, her whole entire platform is her voice and the uniqueness of her voice. So what I would say to that, I understand that. I get that. If the concept is a deal is better than no deal, something's better than nothing, I grant you that. I get it. Without a deal, you ain't got no deal. Got it. However, you can negotiate the other things. Give them their all media language and then say, accept. Make it about something else. So don't negotiate their lawyer words. Let's make it about something else. Negotiate the other things. Don't fight to delete the clause, add a clause. So instead of taking out the all media clause, add an exclusion, add a carve out. Say, okay, you can say all media, but I want to say excluding AI generated or synthetic representations of me. So they can go and put this all over TikTok, Instagram, everywhere, but they can't use it and AI create you. Instead of arguing about the word perpetual, add a sunset clause. A sunset clause in lawyer world is an expiration date. So they can say the word perpetual and then you say, except it expires in 5 years. So you're not then arguing with their lawyer, you're just saying, oh, but I want it to expire in 5 years, okay? Instead of arguing about their big lawyer words, instead of having a fight with the lawyer, just add in a little bit. And this gal at the bar the other night, she actually told me a story about somebody she knew that literally all she did with the big contract, I think she was telling me a story about Simon & Schuster. All this other lady did was add in that clause about accept AI-generated synthetic media. That was all she wanted added. And if they wouldn't do that, she wasn't going to do business with Simon & Schuster. Well, good for her. You know, if you're going to do an audio book with Simon & Schuster and they don't want to agree to let you reserve your AI clone of your audio voice, maybe you shouldn't do that deal. I mean, that's where we're literally at right now with AI, because AI generated content is everything. I mean, right now, like, we know this. In the last even just 3 months, the advances in AI technology has gotten so good that it can literally separate our voice from our human identity. And as creators, think about that. I mean, Morgan Freeman has made a living off of his voice. And I bet you a lot of his contracts didn't even think about that. So, you know, so we have to be smart if we know that this is coming, that we have to say, except I'm keeping my AI. I'm keeping my AI clone twin. And we may need to be thinking about our agentic stuff too. All right. Here's the other thing. If you take away nothing, hopefully you've taken away a lot of things, but if you take away nothing else that I've said, then take away this. License, don't sell. This, I think, is one of the key things for creators, is that you can license content without selling it. License just means you're renting it to them. It's like renting an apartment, not buying a condo, right? So you can grant them a non-exclusive, non-transferable, limited time license to use your name, image, likeness, to use these photographs, to use your voice for a particular thing, for a campaign, for a purpose, and then accept out those AI derivatives and not allow the sub-licensing, not allow them to resell it, but not sell it to them permanently. And that keeps the licensing to you and gives it back to you when they're done with it, so that it's an apartment, not a condo, right? And I think that, to me, is the safest thing for you to do in your brand deals. And hopefully most of y'all are doing this. I think that on, you know, a lot of the social media brand deals, this is fairly common to do the licensing, not selling. All right. So talking about like how to structure yourself, I hope most of y'all have done your LLCs or some form of an entity around your creatorness. But if you haven't, it is very smart to create some sort of an entity and not just be a solo person doing brand deals, because that gives you more protection in the law if you are a business entity. So it puts a layer of legal protection between you and the companies that are doing these deals. That gives you more enforcement in your contracts. So I think there's like a 6-lesson playbook for owning yourself. So the first one is that you have to own yourself before you monetize yourself. That means you have to build your structure, you have to build your LLC, build your entity before you start signing deals. If you're signing them as an individual, then there's tax consequences, there's there's enforcement consequences in your contracts. The business that you're doing brand deals with is gonna have a particular method of dealing with you. So form an entity around your business and treat it like a business. The second one we've already talked about: license, don't sell, and limit it in time. And reserve back your AI so that you're not giving that away. The third one: trademark the thing that makes you money. If you have a particular system, if you have a particular plan, if you have a particular look, if you have a particular slogan, talk to a trademark lawyer. It's not that expensive. If you're making that much money with it, then you need to go trademark it. It's worth it. And if it's not special enough to trademark, if the lawyer says it's not trademarkable, then you're not going to make money on it long term, realistically. But that name, your brand, the name of your show, if you have a podcast, your signature phrase, like all of that. If you trademark it, at least for US coverage, that's the thing that can give you the most coverage and the most enforceability of protection to keep somebody from stealing it. The fourth is to kill these perpetual and killer contract clauses. Now you know when you're reading these contracts, you're not just going in blind and saying like, oh, whatever, something's better than nothing and I'm going to sign this away. So you know now to look for the lawyer words and avoid them if you can, and at least try to insert some clauses that protect you if you're able to. The fifth one is to build a proof vault. So what I mean by this is kind of what my grandmother used to say about how she protected her recipes, but recipes aren't really protectable. You know what I'm talking about? So my grandmother was very proud of her recipes and she always thought they were special. So she would put them in an envelope and mail them to herself. This is very analog, right? So she would put them in an envelope and mail them to herself, and then she wouldn't open them, and it would have a little mark, right? You know what I'm talking about. And it would have a little mark with the date that she mailed them to herself. So if anybody ever stole her recipe, she had proof when she mailed it to herself of the date that she created it. So this is the fancy high-tech version of my grandmother mailing herself her recipe. It's basically kind of like a DIY copyright of when you first created your thing. So if you have an official headshot, a voice sample, a file of whatever you created, whenever you're trademarking something, you have to have proof of the first date that you utilized it out in the internet. So you have a proof vault, whether that's printed, that'd be an analog way, or in Dropbox, or some method of preservation of when, time frame, when, how you created it, and like your method of utilization and creation of this content, so that you can prove that it's you, that it's your voice, that you created it, that you came up with it, if it's a slogan or something, and that you have that believability preserved. So think about your grandma and her recipes and how analog that would be to put it in an envelope and mail it to yourself. And so have that digital version, that high-tech version of preservation of your date, time, and method of creation, so that then if somebody goes and steals it, like you've got this origination of your work, right? So a proof vault. And then the sixth thing comes just from my background in litigation. Who all in this room is married or has been? Almost everybody. Oh, you know you've been married or have, you know. Or been in a relationship, all right? Like we can even just not even go with formalities, right? So everybody's going to be in a relationship, everybody needs love, and everybody's going to either get married or be in a relationship or shack up or get divorced, right? And break up. Prenup your name, image, likeness. So one of the things that I have a niche specialty in is representing celebrities, creators, high-profile people that actually have problems with their NIL out in the world. And what I've seen is that people have fame or recognition of their NIL out in the world before they get married, and it may even be monetized. And they don't recognize that monetization before they get married. They just get married and they're making money with it, but they don't recognize it. They may not even have it entity structured. This is another reason to have it entity structured before marriage. But if you're making money on your image, name, likeness, voice, whatever, before you get into a marriage, it's a pretty good idea to put that in the prenup. Even if you're just well-known, maybe you're an executive in an upcoming company, and someday you want to be well-known. It's a pretty good idea to put in a prenup a clause. And I don't really know of a lot of lawyers that actually do this in prenups. This is my own creation. Maybe I should go trademark that. Kidding. Lawyers can't trademark clauses in legal documents. But I think it's a really good idea to have a clause in prenups that says that each spouse maintains the right to their name, image, likeness, exclusive right to their name, image, likeness, and does not, by virtue of marriage, transfer their rights over to the other spouse because of marriage. And the reason for that is my experience representing high-profile people. And you've seen this in the media in countless breakups. Like every breakup out there, one spouse has a picture of the other spouse doing something they ought not have done, and they release it to the media. Or a video, or a email, or, you know. And that one clause in a prenup that says, I have license, I have the rights, I own my name, image, likeness, my voice, you know, my writings, my this, my that, like everything that comes from me, I still own. It's my property. And just because I marry you, I'm not giving you license to use it. Wouldn't that solve a lot of the stuff we see about breakups in the media when famous people break up? Because then, think about it from a lawyer perspective, then when these famous people start breaking up and you've got that clause in the prenup, then there's going to be this lawyer stuff that happens in the divorce court that the public isn't going to know about, and the gentleman with the media over here isn't going to get to know about, because they're going to have a private meeting with the judge, and they're going to show this judge this contract, and they're going to say, lock it down. Stop the media, stop the presses. Like, we're not going to go releasing pictures, and whatever's on her phone needs to come off of it, and whatever's in those emails gets locked down, and like she doesn't have a right to it, and she's going to get sued on contract if she does. And if you put that in a prenup, like it locks it down and locks the media out, and all of a sudden, like, nobody's going to get to know all this juicy stuff. I don't know. That's my theory. A prenup can solve a lot of problems that a lot of people have in the media that become famous after they get married. All right, future stuff. This is my vision of the future of identity rights. One of the problems is that the law is just very slow to catch up. In Texas, at least, and I'm a Texas lawyer, the Texas legislature only meets once every 2 years. So to even change the law in Texas, it takes a 2-year cycle. And then they get all preoccupied with other issues that that I'm not saying they aren't important issues, they are, but things like funding of public schools and, you know, things like that are just, you know, other things that are important, and they don't think about things like this that maybe we are all thinking about because we're at South by Southwest and on the cutting edge of these issues. So in May of 2025, the First Lady felt that it was very important, and I agree, I think maybe this is something we all can agree on, that there be a federal law criminalizing non-consensual intimate imagery that ended up on social media platforms. Prior to this law, there was no federal law that required the social media platforms to take down non-consensual intimate imagery. And so what was happening was that, you know, somebody, and this was especially bad for teenage girls, somebody would create a naked photo of a teenage girl, and they'd post it to Facebook and embarrass her. And they'd want it taken off of Facebook, and it would be this whole process. And it would end up being up there for months and months and months if you ever could get it taken down. And so thankfully somebody cared enough to go and pass a federal law that requires the social media platforms to take it down within 48 hours of a complaint. And I know that for me, I mean, at my age, I mean, it might be a compliment if somebody created an image of me and put it on Facebook. I don't know. I don't know that I would care all that much. I mean, you know, but I mean, it would be embarrassing, of course, to any of us. It would be embarrassing and humiliating. But to a teenage girl, it's devastating. To a teenage boy, it's devastating, and it's intended to be. and it's cruel. So having 48 hours is still a long time in the life of a teenager, but that's at least a notice and a process that gets it down. So that is a process. And in a few states, there are some additional protections out there for this. And there are more protections for teenagers than there are for us adults, because presumably we're able to handle it a little better. But, there's not a lot of protection for AI yet, and for these clones, and for what are we doing about all of these other things. And to me, the bigger problem is that there is zero protection internationally. We have no body of international law that is protecting us. Like I said, if we can't protect Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt from having their identity cloned for what they do literally for a living in the last couple of months, like, none of us are safe from it. So there is no body of international governance of this, and the law is very, very slow to catch up. And it's unfortunate that lawyers kind of say, like, well, there's no answer, it's all a gray area. But that's, recognition of that at a minimum is the first step to creating a solution. So I think there's basically 3 pillars for creating a solution. One is to recognize digital identity as a right of property, that we own our digital identity. And I don't think that the law actually is caught up enough to recognize that at this point. I don't think that there is, a formal recognition that I own my digital identity. So I think that, we're getting there. The federal act may be there, but I don't think we're quite there yet. I think the court system is another pillar for securing us. Right now, I think that the court system in general is very unsophisticated. I know a lot of judges, and most of them, because of judicial ethics, they aren't even allowed to be on social media. So they kind of have their heads stuck in the sand on what all is out there, where we're all here on the cutting edge of technology at a place like South by that is focused on things like AI and all of these great topics. But the court system is barely talking about them. And to think that a court system might be faced with a deep fake AI video, the court system is not built for that. Let me tell you a story that hasn't happened that I know of yet, but I've done a lot of work in the divorce space, and it terrifies me. I asked y'all a minute ago how many of you had been married or divorced, and so this, I think, will terrify you too. Imagine if you were a mother and you were getting married. Narcissism is the big buzzword in the divorce world right now. But if you were getting a divorce from a narcissistic husband, and maybe he's slightly tech literate and knows how to use one of these tech softwares that are so available now that can create a AI clone video. And maybe we're not quite to the point that I'm going to tell you we are at this moment, but we're not far. So, and I'm going to use very stereotypical language on purpose and understand, I get it, that it could be the opposite gendered situation. Husband decides he wants to gain an advantage in the marriage, power, control, whatever it is, and wants custody of the children. So he goes to one of these softwares that may not quite be there yet, but will be very soon. And he creates a child abuse video of the mother. And it's fake. It's not real. She didn't do it. But it looks real enough. And at the very initial hearing, which happens within a couple of weeks of filing for divorce, he shows this video to an unsophisticated judge, and confirmation bias, the judge sees it and says, "Oh my God, that's horrible, you horrible human." The mom is now not only separated from her children, she now has whatever the state's version of Child Protective Services removes the children from her. The judge limits her access, gives the father who's created this fake video custody. She's probably now arrested and in jail. She has no money because he controls all the money in this example. So she has no money. She now has a public defender who may be unsophisticated and doesn't understand that there are such things as fake videos and AI cloned videos, because he still thinks that cameras, and maybe he doesn't even have an iPhone, you know. And so here she sits in jail knowing that she didn't do it, but has an absolute inability to show it. And the legal system, the judge is unsophisticated, her defender's unsophisticated, she may even be unsophisticated. And if the guy is technologically capable enough to create a fake video, the authenticity regimen that you use in court, he would be the one to go to court and say, this is an authentic video. Well, if he created a fake video, he's going to go to court and say it's authentic. And then it's up to her to prove it's fake. And she has no method, no ability to prove it's fake. She doesn't have the money to hire an expert. She doesn't even know how to hire an expert, and nobody in her universe is sophisticated enough to know how to do that. Now, that's never happened that I know of. I'm not even sure the technology exists yet for that scenario to happen. But can we all agree that that is a potentially real scenario, and it is horrifying? And it is bound to happen, and one day it will. And if we don't educate our court system real quick on synthetic media, on AI technology, and on some system of avoiding that, whether it's the stereotypical man in power, woman lacks power, or the opposite, frankly, like it very well could be the opposite of that. Like there's no gender roles in this scenario. It could be the opposite. If we don't educate our court system on the authenticity of these videos and the ability to create AI clones, our justice system is going to melt down. Whether it's the criminal system by creating fake videos on either side of it, prosecuting criminals, defending criminals, either side of it, just the fact that we are not going to be able to believe evidence, the entire foundation of our American judicial system is going to crack. And if our American judicial system cracks, what do we have left? As a lawyer, I'm saying that. So we have to educate our judicial system. And then we have to have accountability across platforms, I believe, so that the accountability and the ethics in our platforms, you know, we can't just have a profit-based system, and as a capitalist, it hurts me to say that, but, you know, I think that we do have to have some ethics and transparency in our standards so that we're not just, you know, putting AI slop out there and letting people, you know, see it. So there has to be some sort of platform accountability. So I developed what I would call an AI Bill of Rights. This is just something that came out of my head. It's not trademarked. Feel free to steal it. I don't care. But, you know, it makes sense to me. So that is that that identity is dignity, not data. Your face, your voice, your likeness ought to be inseparable from you. They are part of your person. Your consent should be explicit, not waivable by lawyer language. You should not be able to waive your consent by silence or by vagary. Public consent should not be licensed for synthetic use. In other words, they shouldn't be able to just go grab something off of a public forum like Instagram and use it and call that consent. The platforms that are profiting from creators should protect us and not just profit off of us. And they should be responsible for swiftly taking down things. Believability does not equal truth. And I think this as a society is maybe a societal issue. Just because something looks believable, we're going to have to separate that from truth. I saw a story the other day about a politician in another country. I can't remember what country it was in, but somewhere over in Europe, where there was like a total smear campaign on this guy, and the AI version of him had exactly the opposite view that he carried. You may remember the story. And he lost his election because the AI version of him had this view that wasn't his. And so I think that as a society, we're going to have to ask better questions and have a more critical viewpoint of everything we see, because believability does not equal truth. And lastly, minors deserve heightened protection from parents, from teachers, from schools, from every part of our society, and from society in general. I think our minors deserve heightened protection. So I'll leave you with this. I believe that identity is dignity. I believe that identity is a human right. And I think that we're all entitled to maintain our identity. Just because your face is famous, just because your voice is valuable, fundamentally you're still entitled to your identity. So it is still kind of up to you to own it and protect it and license it, but don't lose it. My slides are available. You can get them through my website, which is on the slide there. They're also available on my Stand store for free if you also want to download them there, or you can just contact me and I'll send them to you. They say I do not have a speaker after me, so I could take some Q&A if you have any questions. Thank you so much. There's a mic. Yeah, if you don't mind asking the questions on the mic, because they, I think, are recording, and so am I.